All right, guys, so as you guys know, pretty much we have a new 5K account that I'm going to be starting up, and I'm going to be using that, and I'm going to be risking only 1%. I'm going to be taking one trade a day. These are our internal zones, which are the fair value gaps we're going to be using, mainly just fair value gaps, highs and lows, and anything inside of that too, seeing if we can go inside and then target some form of high and low, seeing if we respect or disrespect that fair value gap there. Again, I need to build more context, more narrative for when I'm going to frame a trade. Again, the entry, everything like on the lower time frames for me is very, very simple and easy, of course, but on the higher time frame is really where I get messed up. Context or narrative, that's where I usually have trouble with, so that's really what I'm going to be focusing on, and that's pretty much really it, guys. We're going to refine our higher time frame perspective and trying to build a narrative. That's pretty much really it to frame the trades on the lower time frames. The lower time frames, I'm really like good, I'm set. The 1 minute, I'm good, I'm set. I know what to see, I know what to look for on the lower time frames. Now it's really just having that patience, having good risk management, one trade a day, knowing how to stick to our rules and be disciplined and showing up and just putting in that work every day and getting better on the higher time frame and waiting for those to happen on the higher time frame. So as you can see, we have NQ and then the date. So I'm gonna have the symbol right here, and then I'm gonna have the date, and then I'm gonna have the time frame, and then I'm gonna be watching what I'm gonna go over the brief example here. We didn't do it on US30 because it doesn't really look clear on US30, but NASDAQ. So on the weekly here, again, this one I'm gonna be using as a means to like really regurgitate when I'm trying to basically like my bias and my narrative as to like when I'm dropping down. And again, it's gonna build more clarity and like an understanding of what I should be doing. Again, trading is like a business. You need to treat it like one. You need to actually implement. We really need to calculate every decision. I've been watching a lot of chess, and they're calculating. They're sitting down, they're thinking for like hours. In the Norway chess tournament right now, they're sitting down, they're thinking, really think things through. You got to write down every single move and every single calculation that might be possible. So that's kind of what I'm doing now, and I'm writing it from a weekly perspective, and then I'm going down to at least the hourly, and then that's where it stops. And again, I don't have the anything under the 15, because in order for me to go under the 15, I'm gonna have some form of confluence upon these time frames. The lower time frame entry is usually the easiest part for me right now, and the hardest part is going to be the higher time frame context and the narrative. That's kind of why I'm starting to write things down. I'm going to be able to regurgitate the information, and I'm going to be able to see all the cards I'm playing with from the higher time frame perspective and what should be happening. So all right, so we took a small loss on US30 right now, and I'm going to document why. I'm going to talk to you guys why I even took this trade. In my opinion, I don't even know why I took this trade. I think this trade was very, very impulsive, very forced. Now like that I'm stepping back and I'm viewing it, I'm doing some breath work, I'm like, what? You see, it was only like $25, and the last house calculator is telling me use 0.12, so that's kind of what I use here, 0.12. But SIBI inverse market maker sell model, completing it, going down here now. 1 hour clear, we're aiming for this fair leg up right here, and then eventually we're going to go higher probably. You can see the account balance is 0.4975. Isn't much, honestly. I don't know why I'm risking 2%. Again, gotta have a buffer. Bad mistake, but it was a wake up call, I guess. Seeing we had a sweep right here for this low, and the wick was going up, so I thought higher prices were coming. And then eventually I saw this right here, an inversion fair value gap. We entered, the stop loss was down here, and then eventually we took the L. What could I have done better here? Not even, the 15 minute. The 15 minute could have been a lot better. We could have seen and waited for this PDA right here to hold, and then eventually open and then go higher. Strictly viewing it, could have seen this right here form, it went up higher, formed the SIBI, made that SIBI inverse, and then shown and respected the bullish fair value gap. And let's see what happened. Honestly, I'd stop looking at the chart. All right, so I think we went up higher, we came back down, went up higher, we came back down, went up higher, and then we now are reversing. So the main thing that's really probably the main reason why we're probably reversing is this right here, 4 hour, again, like that 12 hour SIBI, like I told you, did make it inverse. Honestly, we're probably retracing back down a little bit further before we go even higher, in my opinion. So we're gonna have a triple balance price range right on here. So now that's all I'm gonna be watching now. But again, we can't really, the 1 minute DJ trade, the Dow Jones, it's all good though, I won't even lie to you. Probably is the Dow Jones, yeah. So that's the Dow Jones trade. This one wasn't bad. Bought it right there. We went up and then we came back down. Now we're making it more of a bearish balance price range since we did close below. Alright guys, so I've been in this trade for the longest, bro. I'm not even gonna lie. I want to get out of it very, very soon. Either we're gonna get stopped out or we're gonna get hit. I did move my take profit to right here, which I haven't yet, so I'm gonna do it right now. It's annoying at this point. We're just back and forth. We're inside of a range, and I just want to get stopped out or I want to get hit in profit for not even much of a gain. And then again, our confluences for this trade, we're inside of a daily SIBI, but of course Dow Jones is lagging so hard behind. We wanted to catch up. All right, so we just got stopped out, break even basically. You can see close positions today, 610 break even. I just didn't want to be in the trade any further. We were already in this trade for approximately a good while since this candle right around here, so around basically 1 hour and 30 minutes, which is a very, very long time just to be moving back and forth. The trade would have worked out on these except for not Dow Jones basically, so you can see that. And then this one we would have entered right around here. this high up here, stop loss down here, target all the way up here. So this one would have worked out. Again, just choosing the right market to trade. This one has just been chopping around, as you can see. And these held it. This one still not moving as much with speed. You can see this one made that basically double inverse. This one again just made it inverse too, and then we went up higher. Choosing the right market to trade is very, very important. This one just didn't really do much. So again, just very, very faulty day as a learning experience, choosing which market to trade. And yeah, that's pretty much really it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a final end to the day, basically Friday. Again, we only took one trade and it was a little bit of a break even, basically. It's just a break even. No little, it's just break even. You can see 6, 10, 83, which was a 1.5% loss. So what are we gonna do now? It's pretty much just try to make that back. Yeah, and the market just, I was cleaning this up real quick. I'm still yet to chart them. I've been doing a lot of other stuff. As of today, you know, after we finished, we had a SIBI, but we had a bullish order block. We're trying to reach that external on the weekly there, because again, the other indices are just pushing up higher. I think the better trade here would have been in Q, just because of how much Dow Jones is lagging, and then in Q we had an internal BISI, we had external not available. Just trying to incorporate small little changes one step at a time, writing down stuff internal to external, using that as much as possible, using internal resistance liquidity and external resistance liquidity. And then eventually I already have my entries models. 13 o'clock opened up right here, we're above it. I wanted us to retrace and then go higher and reach the buy side liquidity, and that's kind of why I took those longs earlier. It just never worked out in my opinion. And then eventually we had a balanced price range here. We tapped up into it, and that's where I looked for longs for a little bit earlier than usual, because again, it was going to be during lunch session, and I knew on a Friday lunch going into PM session is going to be very, very choppy. So I'd rather not even try to hold this trade for very long. All right, so you may notice this account. Again, we blew the 10K, then we blew the 15K. I'm back, I'm better. I'm going to continue trading this summer. So this is pretty much the account we failed. You know, this is phase 2. The other one was phase 1. I showed you. This is phase 2 right here. Again, we were up and we were going up, and then eventually we had that strong, I don't know what it was just pattern trading. I didn't have bias. Again, I didn't have narrative like I told you guys, and that was something I was working on in the month of, I wasn't trading again though, but I was working on it. Whenever I took this new trade here on this account on the 5K, again, I'm starting on the lowest amount, and then eventually I'm going to work my way up. I'm going to scale. By the end of this year, I do believe I am going to be 6 figures funded, but my main goal right now is I'm dreaming for 7. That's all. We're up 4%. And again, the first trade here was a loss, and that's totally normal. You know, I was like a 2% loss, near 2%. You know, basically the reasoning for it was, again, I was fearful. My first trade, I was fearful because of all the damage that I was done through the other strategy, you know, and I really didn't change much. I just wrote down my confluences and I started working upon there. You know, I still trade the same model. I'll trade the smart money reversal X standard deviation, or I'll simply just use inversion, fair value gaps, confirmation, like the Audrey's model or something. Shout out Shino, he's the one that put me on in the Discord. But that's all I really did, just write down my confluences to have a better conviction. Okay, it's gonna be week 2 pretty much of the funded account. I'm gonna go over basically what happened and why we took a loss, basically going over the trades, pretty much that everything that happened. Again, I'm doing all this free in the Telegram, giving you guys my bias, and I'm going over the trades that I've taken. And usually sometimes in the market reviews, I'm usually like showing 3 markets that I'm watching, and usually I trade one of those 3 markets. And that's all I'm gonna say. Okay, so here on my Notion, we took 3 trades this week, 2 wins, 1 loss. Last week, 2 L's. Basically, we made up for last week's losses. We lost last week, and then eventually for this week we made our profits, and then eventually a little bit more. I'm not saying anything, but I'm just gonna say the strategy we are using now is basically working. It's improving. I'm starting to see a little bit more results. One thing I need to work on a little bit more is my risk management. That's something I need to work on, in my opinion. At times, you know, it can be very, very bad and then very, very good. So last week's trades, but this is what GJ's trade. I still need to actually finish charting it. We had a 1 minute inversion fair value gap form, and then eventually we had a breaker block form. We entered at the breaker, and then we had a stop down here, and then eventually this was during NFP, the week of NFP I should say, and it was a Wednesday. You can see risk management was decent, 1% loss here on the 15-minute time frame here. I don't know if you can see it, but it's a 15-minute time frame. We had a balanced price range form. But on the 4-hour, where were we tapping into? We were tapping into this 4-hour bullish balanced price range. I don't know specifically yet if we were tapping into it, but I think we did with this candle here, since it is kind of taking out the low. Again, the more PDA rays we have and the more confluences we have, then of course the higher the probability. And again, just a small L, I'll take it. Dow Jones. This one was a break even on the Friday last week, and you can see here we had a buy side imbalance. We had an inversion here form. We entered, and then eventually we entered a little bit more, and then eventually you can see we got break. Totally normal. On the 15-minute time frame, we had a SIBI, and then eventually a buy side imbalance. We were in between both. Pretty normal. Again, just waiting for one to get disrespected and one to get respected, but we didn't, so that's kind of why we moved the stop a little bit early. Again, it wasn't really too high probability. And then eventually for US 30 on the 1 hour in the trade here, we had a bullish order block, and then eventually we had a buy side imbalance form here. And yeah, we just created a price lag here with this 4 hour high and the 4 hour low, external buy side up here, external sell side down here, and of course just waiting for one side to get taken out. So we were trading inside of a range. It's high probability, but again, if you're not on the right side, it is very, very low probability. And if it's very indecisive like this, then of course it's just not high probability. And then for Tuesday this week, this was the day before CPI. CPI was then Wednesday plus FOMC. CPI did more damage than FOMC. And then eventually for NQ, June 11th, Tuesday, the day before CPI, we had the inversion fair value gap form. We had a New York AM session. Again, this is all during New York AM session. You can see most of my trade, yeah, there's no like nothing in, we're usually in the purple or in the gray section whenever we're trading. Here, clear trade right here. We took a short, and then eventually we held it to this low, and then we took out the, basically we took it out. And a main confluence here for this trade was basically SMT/Six Sister. The market was moving so much more lower for the other two indices, basically for SPX and then Dow Jones. So that kind of was like a clear thing to me. We had a SIBI and a BISI. We did target the BISI plus this low. Expect the market to move this much, especially the day before CPI. So again, just missed on a couple trades here. Here we would have taken a trade, but again, it just really, again, it wasn't super clear to me. But again, took my W, walked away, traded the shorts instead of the buys, which again, I did say to myself, I don't want to be shorting in a bullish market, but I did that. So kind of going against my own words. And then eventually here we took some XAUD, basically gold. We took some gold shorts June 13th, basically Thursday, the inversion model plus time frame pairing. It's basically the same thing here. Eventually I didn't really do this one for this one, and then eventually for this one I like this trade right here. Nice clean trade. We had everything in correlation here. On the 2-minute time frame here, we had an inversion fair value gap form, a bearish one, and we did have a bearish order block form, but again, it was just way too late to enter, so I wasn't able to really calculate the risk. And again, we entered a little bit more, but it's okay. And eventually we were going to re-enter here. Our stop loss original was up here, and then eventually we did get stopped out right around here. Clean trade in my opinion. And eventually here you can see pretty much the price lag from the high to the low. You can see we came back up into a premium, and we hit this bearish balance price range, which was a very confluence, which is a very important confluence to me to take the short here. And then eventually we had this 1 hour sell side imbalance up here, retraced, and we tapped up into it, and then we started to move lower. We did target this 4 hour low, but then eventually you can see here we were very, very close, but we took out majority of our profits here as soon as we started to reverse from the 15-minute low. And then eventually on the 4 hour time frame here, we had a 4 hour inversion fair value gap form, which was a very key confluence since we did have a daily sell side imbalance with an order block. We had a 5K inversion model plus time frame pairing. It was on a Friday, New York session for NQ. And then you can see here, this was the first trade. The first trade wasn't really ideal in my opinion. We were still yet to tap into the 15-minute PD array, which was we did get this inversion. We entered, and then eventually our stop was down here. We were risking 1.5% here. And then eventually we did tap into the 15-minute PD array here. And then eventually we formed the inversion fair value gap. I was looking to enter here, break one of my rules, which was 1 trade a day. I was very fearful. I was expecting the market to reverse on us here. But again, you can see we went up higher. And as soon as I saw that we were about to close up here, did take an entry, and then eventually I did scale in a little bit more with this buy side imbalance here. And then eventually you can see we went up higher, and I eventually started to trim the profit here because we were near break even on the 15-minute time frame. This is the buy side imbalance right here that we tapped up into, and then eventually we started to reverse higher, and the market eventually did deliver, go up. Eventually the market did deliver and go higher, but again, it just wasn't ideal for me on a PM session to trade on a Friday. 1 hour time frame, this is again one of my main confluences here, the 1 hour internal resistance inversion fair value gap, a bullish one that formed here, and we were targeting these highs up here, the all-time highs that we have formed recently. And then again, eventually here we had a bullish buy side imbalance, internal resistance here, target the external, but the delivery wasn't the best. And again, this trade could have been avoided, the first one, and then the second one could have been just a break-even day. Learning from my mistakes, waiting for your main PDA rate, and then eventually going to the 1 minute. I'm not gonna lie, it was on the 1 minute, very, very heavy today. Back at 3.5%. What am I going to be doing? Again, I'm going to be risking 1% per trade. I'm going to be waiting for my time frame pairing confluences, PD arrays to be hit, and then eventually scaling to the lower time frames to find an entry. That's something I'm going to be working on a lot more recently. and trying to use other markets as confluences, so SMT or Six Sister. I will try to look for other PD arrays too, mainly three, mainly the daily, the 4 hour, and the 1 hour, all to be in alignment together, and then eventually to scale down to the 15 to find a near nice entry, and then going down to the 5 or the 1 minute if I can. All we need is a basically 1 to 4.5, risking 1% to eventually pass the account. That's basically 1 to 2, 1%, 2 trades. All I'm going to be looking for next week is a 1 to 2, risking 1%, and if I can get more, and if I know I can get more, then eventually targeting a quick 1 to 3, and if not, a 1 to 4, and then aiming for a 1 to 1. Friday and Monday are going to be B plus. So that's basically really it. I'm going to go chart this trade here, and I'll catch you guys next week.